Hey guys, Zach with Paramount Financial here. Last time, if you remember, we did a video about the key points of financial planning and what's important. One of the key points is in retirement, you have to have cash flow, and we do cash flow analysis and planning. And a key factor of that is going to be your Social Security. And what does Social Security look like? Now, we want to talk to you today about what Social Security is in general. And then also we're going to have a video after this one that talks about practical steps to optimize your Social Security. Now, I know some of you, or a lot of you, might be thinking, I haven't even seen a Social Security statement. Am I going to be receiving it? Well, Social Security started a couple years ago where they don't actually give out statements until you're 60 years old. But you can easily log into ssa.gov and you can actually register pretty easily within about 5 minutes, and you can see what your Social Security benefits are estimated out to be. Now, also, a lot of you from the younger generations might be thinking, I'm not even going to get Social Security. We are in such a tough spot in this system that we're never going to have it. Now, it's our belief here at Paramount that we don't want to factor Social Security in for everyone's financial planning unless you're close to retirement age. So we're going to try to be a little bit more conservative with our estimates and assume that maybe it won't be there. But we truly believe that they're going to make some changes and that Social Security will actually be there. It might look very different than what it does today, and we're happy to have a conversation with what we think it's actually going to look like in the future. But at the end of the day, you don't want to rely on Social Security. There are staggering statistics, if you look them up, of how many people are actually relying on Social Security. I recently saw a statistic that said between 40% of people that are in retirement age and are husband and wife that are married have and only rely on their Social Security as their only income source. So no other retirement plans, no pension plans. That's a staggering number, especially when you think about the average Social Security check per month is about $1,400. So we want to do as much planning as we can to get you away from that. But real quick, let's go ahead and talk about what Social Security is. So there are 4 key factors that go into calculating out your Social Security. Now, I'm not going to go into all of the individual details of how each of these pieces are calculated, but you're really looking at 4 key factors. Number 1 is going to be the length of time that you've actually been putting into Social Security. The second one is going to be your earnings over your lifetime for Social Security. The third one is the age that you actually start pulling your Social Security. And the fourth one is going to be inflation. So some key things to think about when looking at your Social Security. The first one is quarters. They refer to Social Security quarters. So that's a 3-month period of time that you've worked and you've had what is called substantial earnings during that point in time. You have to have a minimum of 40 3-month quarters in your lifetime in order to be able to even pull Social Security at any time in the future. So Social Security for substantial earnings in 2024 was $31,275. So if you've earned $31,275 over the year, then you've earned 4 quarters towards that 40 quarters that you actually need. Now, you're able to start pulling Social Security as early as 62. But for most people today, that is a reduced benefit, and so you're going to have lower than what your actual estimate says online. 67 years old is the general full retirement age currently. So that means you can continue working at 67 years old, and you're able to earn as much money, and you're able to get your full benefit. And then up to 7 years old is what we call delaying your credit. So each year you're actually receiving an increased amount, which we'll cover over the next video. So if you remember when we were talking about the house video and all the everything that goes into financial planning and making sure that your family or your future generations are protected, Social Security is actually one of those protectionary devices that we like to factor in. Think of Social Security for someone who isn't fully retired or has people who are dependent upon them as sort of a life insurance. Now, caveat, this should not be your only life insurance. We want to look into whether you need life insurance and what that looks like, but Social Security actually provides some protection for you. So let's talk about the protections. There's disability income. So if you were to become disabled and you're a primary worker in your family, you're able to receive Social Security benefits. Now, it's probably not enough to replace the income that you actually have coming in, but it is something that can go towards and possibly be in addition to any group benefits or private disability policies that you have. As well, if you were to pass away, you have what's called a widow's benefit. A widow's benefit is if your spouse is at least for retirement age, which again, we're going to say is generally 67 years old, then they are able to pull your full Social Security benefit. So even if they were on their own benefit, they're able to actually change to your record and pull your full benefit. Now, you can actually start pulling that as early as 60 years old, but there's a reduced benefit for that. Now, your spouse is also able to pull on your record if you were to pass away, if your spouse is taking care of someone who is 16 years or younger. And then that age bumps up. If one of your children are considered disabled, your children can actually receive benefits, disabled or not. But if your children become disabled under 22 years old, they can actually receive your benefit for the rest of their life. And if your children are under 18 years old, they're actually able to receive a type of benefit from you as a survivor's benefit as well. Now, I just always want to throw this in there. There's always going to be caveats. When we're thinking about divorcees, when we're thinking about remarriages, there are different situations that are always going to be unique to certain people. So that's why we like to sit down and actually go through the financial planning process to make sure that we've looked at your specific situation. This video is just going to speak in generalities. Now, we also have what's called a spousal record. So I'm going to give you a good example. I've been working my entire life since I was probably 14, 15 years old. So I've been putting into Social Security for quite some time now. My wife, Lauren, had worked for several years and put into Social Security, but we made the decision that my wife was going to be a stay-at-home mom to take care of our children. We choose to homeschool, and we have that flexibility and luckily that privilege to be able to have her step into that role. So for this foreseeable future, it doesn't look like Lauren is going to have any early years when it comes to Social Security. So a lot of people might think, oh man, only the spouse that's working is going to receive a benefit in retirement time. However, there's something that's called the spousal benefit. So if you've been married for at least 10 years and you get to retirement age to where you're actually pulling from your Social Security as the primary earner of the family, then your spouse can actually claim on your record what's called a spousal benefit. That spousal benefit is up to 50% of your benefit. So for example, if I was receiving $3,000 per month as a retiree on my Social Security, my spouse could earn up to $1,500 per month on my Social Security. So another one of those protectionary devices that we want to make sure is factored in there. That can again look a little different if you were married previously or if you get remarried before you're 60 years old. Those things can change a little bit, but you have that spousal record there to go ahead and help you out. So lastly, I want to talk about some reductions that you might have in Social Security. And we have a lot of clients that work in the public sector. So think about teachers, municipality workers, city workers. They and their spouses can have reductions or offsets to the Social Security that are called government pension offset and the windfall elimination provision. These are two different types of reductions or offsets that you can have. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Craig go over this when he talks about pension income. So he's going to talk about pension incomes and how that's going to affect any of your survivor benefits or your spousal benefits that you could possibly receive. So thanks for joining me. I know this is just a quick little video to go over the highlights and the overview of what Social Security looks like. In the next video, join me. We're going to talk about the best way to optimize your Social Security, when you should be pulling it, what is the break-even point for you waiting and delaying your Social Security. We want to make sure that you're taking advantage of every piece that's there for you to make sure that your retirement is as set as possible. As always, let's find out what we can build together. Thanks, guys.